You know, I love Scream Queens so much last year, but I feel like this season just doesn't have the same type of magic that last season did. And I'm just curious to see what you think about that. Let me know if you agree with me, and if you don't, let me know why. But to me, I just don't find the episodes as entertaining. However, this episode was really packed with a lot of stuff going on, so I did appreciate that. So we just need to get into it. So they're doing kind of the same thing that we've become accustomed to, like where everyone points out the other person as being the green meanie, and usually if they point someone out, it's not going to be them. We saw a lot of that last season. We're seeing some of that this season. So Chanel number 1 is pointing out that Chanel 5 is probably the green meanie in the beginning of this episode, and I definitely don't think Chanel number 5 is. I do have a couple of suspects, and we'll get into that just a little bit later, but you know, that's kind of what they do. It's almost kind of funny how they do it with this show. So we see them dumping bodies, well, a body, into that swamp. This is kind of going back to what happened in the 80s at that hospital. Now, I'm not really sure what happens. Did those people come back to life? I don't know, but Tyler, who died in the last episode, who had the wart condition, was dumped there. So I'm not really sure what happens with that. That obviously has some kind of significance. Let me know down below what you think happens when the bodies get dumped in the swamp. So this is something about this season that I pointed out probably in our live chats or in videos for the past couple of weeks that annoys me is that every time they introduce new characters, you know that they're going to die, and that is just so predictable at this point that it's annoying. And I was really hoping they weren't going to do it again with this episode, but sadly they did it. They did it twice actually. So yes, a lot of people were like, oh my god, I think last week, or when it aired, because it's been 2 weeks, people were like, yeah, I think Boone's friend's going to be the next one to die. And oh my god, when he was being killed, I was like, we totally called that. And it's not because we're super smart this time around. It's because the show was super, super predictable. So that, you know, honestly annoyed me. So Chad is convinced he knows who the green meanie is, and he thinks it is Dr. Brock, John Stamos' character, because he has that murderer's hand. Of course, a lot of the reason he wants people to think he's the green meanie is that he's insanely jealous of him because he likes Chanel number 1. So, you know, it's funny, and I'm glad that that Chad had a big role in this episode because I love Chad. By the way, where has Denise been? She is not playing a prominent role in this season, and I'm not cool with it. I'm not okay with it. So we had Sherry O'Terry as a guest star this episode from Saturday Night Live fame. I remember her, watching her as a kid when she was doing the cheerleader skit. I love the cheerleader skit. How long ago was that, by the way, with Will Ferrell? So I really enjoyed her back then, but she looks kind of different now, you know, time has passed. But her condition was, I don't know, I was watching it and I was like, how am I going to describe her condition? Well, you watch it, you know what her condition is, but it's kind of funny, gotta be honest. But so it turns out, I'll just skip to what happens to her. She ends up getting killed as well by the green meanie, which is just, whoa, it's just way, 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 way too predictable. So anyway, we finally got some answers about Cassidy, Dr. Cassidy, who is the Taylor Lautner character, and a lot of you were trying to figure out if he was actually dead, and he admits to Chanel 3 that he is dead, that he died, this is awful, but he like choked on his own vomit and died, so it's kind of funny, but it's kind of awful. And, you know, even when they took his temperature, he took his temperature later in the episode, he was definitely dead, so there's that. I don't think that makes him the killer or anything, but he has hooked up now with Chanel 3, so they're a thing. So anyway, one of the characters also introduced in this episode is a nurse from the 80s, and Brittany was pointing out in our live chat this week that this character looked way too young to have been a nurse in the 80s, so I guess it's some good genes or some bad casting, you decide. But anyway, I don't really understand the whole point of bringing this character in. I don't know if we're going to see this character again. It seemed like we spent a lot of time with them. Obviously, the killer today is connected to everything that happened in 85, 86, and just to let you guys know, for those of you who are asking me who I think the green meanie is, I definitely think Chamberlain is the baby and the green meanie, but I also think there's at least one other killer, and I think that Hester is masterminding all of this. I don't think she's actually killing people because she has been locked up, but I definitely think she's playing a major role, like giving them ideas, telling them who to kill, stuff like that. But let me know what you think down below. So Chad gets really upset because Dr. Brock says that he is thinking about proposing to Chanel 1, and then of course he gets this idea that, oh my god, he's got to propose to her. So, which is funny, he does it and she's excited even though he does it in the most terrible way because, you know, deep down he's really a jerk, but he's a funny jerk, so, you know, whatever. So they get engaged, and what's funny is that I never expected there to be a wedding this soon, like in the same episode as the engagement, but before we get to that, one of the funniest parts in this episode was when I feel so bad for Chanel number 5 because, like, Chanel 1 was going around the room and she was like telling Chanel 3, asking Chanel 3 and asking Zayday if they would be her bridesmaids, and when she got to Chanel 5, I knew she wasn't going to ask her to be the bridesmaid, but she definitely thought she was going to, and she asked her to be the ring bearer, which was really, really funny, but really, really sad for Chanel 5. I do feel bad for her. I don't think she is the killer. Alright, so before we get to the wedding and the tragedy that comes after that, Green Meanie strikes again with the chance to kill Sherry O'Terry. Can't remember her name from the show, sorry. Chamberlain and Zayday. So the interesting thing here, a few interesting things. Of course, Sherry O'Terry's character is killed because she's a useless character, to be honest. And I was very curious to see what would happen with Chamberlain because this is kind of a trick that a lot of horror shows and movies play where if he was killed, then I definitely think that he's not the killer. But where he was just injured, I still think he's definitely the killer because they want you to think, oh my god, if he was attacked, then he can't be the killer. A lot of horror shows try to play this game, and we're all smarter than that, so I definitely think he's involved. But what was really weird here is that he or she didn't try to attack Zayday at all. So, in the live chat that we had this week, and hopefully you've been to one of these, or you've watched them after they've aired or something, because they're a lot of fun. Information's down below. But 2 people brought up, I think it was, I know it was Ralph for one, and I can't remember who the other person was, saying that they think Grace, the character Grace, may be coming back, may be involved in these killings, and they had a lot of different reasons why. If you think Grace could be coming back or she's involved, let me know your theories. I haven't really developed a theory on that yet, but I'd love to hear what you're thinking about that. And Hester keeps saying she knows the killer, so I definitely think that's true, and she's helping them, guiding their steps, something like that. So why was Zayday spared? Why was Chanel 5 spared? And why was the Dean spared? It's got to be because of a certain reason. I mean, they're sparing all the main characters, and I would be able to say that until the very end of this episode when they finally have the wedding for Chanel and Chad, and I felt like it was a dream sequence, to be honest, and I didn't even think, even when just the wedding started, I was like, this is not real. But then Chad falls out of the ceiling and he is dead, and I still feel like it's a dream or a trick and they're going to bring him back. I can only hope so because I think, you know, Chad and Denise are my favorite characters, and I think the show really needs him because he's so ridiculous and so funny, and it would just make me super sad if they actually killed him off. And I guess the actor is on Twitter saying he did really die on the show, but you know, that doesn't always mean that that's true. So I want to know what you think about a lot of things. Do you think Chad is actually dead? Who are your guesses for the Green Meanie? Do you think there's 1 or 2 or whatever? Do you think Grace could still come back and play a role in this? Just really curious to see what your thoughts are. Thumbs up if you're enjoying this season or you like this video. If you have not subscribed to Kelly TV, I did reach 4,000, which makes me so happy, so we're still growing. I would love for you to be a part of my Kelly TV family, so please subscribe. There's so much going on this fall with so many different shows. Follow me on Twitter for all that information. Wow, so thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon. Bye, guys.